plug. Never mind, I'll just stick with this programme, shall I? And Tori Amos, she spent years... Oh, no, this is your line. See, I'm so keen to get my own thing.
Doesn't really matter. She spent years turning personal suffering into a musical art form, offering fans the opportunity to identify with her real-life angst. Her new album is called Tales of a Librarian, and it's a remastering of her best work.
The album documents a career spanning over a decade, and Tori's with us this morning. But before we speak to her, let's remind ourselves of her very unique style.
Walking home in a wrapped up world, she survived, but she's feeling out, 'cause she found all things could. Strange girl, where are you going? Strange girl, where are you going? Strange girl, alright to you, alright to me, going.
That's what I call a wolf.
Yes, that's a big wolf, isn't it? And here is Tori. Lovely to see you with a change of hair colour.
Hi, both of you.
Now tell us, because you've got a very interesting background, haven't you? Because you're part Cherokee and you're a daughter of a Methodist minister, so your upbringing must have been fascinating.
Peace pipe in one hand and a cross in the other. So it was difficult to juggle sometimes because the belief systems are very different. But my mother's family would tell stories and sit on the porch, and it's a very oral tradition. So we would sit every night on the porch and listen to Papa, my mom's dad, talk about the escape from the Trail of Tears. And that really formed, I think, my interest in storytelling.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you're saying that, because we've just been talking this morning on the programme about developing these communication skills, storytelling skills in children at our schools. This was happening for you at home, a real sense of your past then and place in the universe.
Well, I think because, again, you sit around and listen to a wonderful storyteller, my grandfather, who would know everything that was going on in town. You know, what the choir director was doing, who the minister was seeing, and that would all end up in a story with names changed and everything else. So we knew in the family what was going on. And that was he was chronicling time and our life in a story every night.
And how have they reacted to your career and to the huge success that you've had?
I think it was tricky for my dad at first because I'm a follower of the Magdalene, and I've always been about women's rights within the church, and that there has to be an integration of the Mother Mary and the Mary Magdalene within a Christian woman for wholeness. And so that met with some consternation at first, but I thought it was really important that the Mother Mary, who has been separated from her sexuality, and the Magdalene, who has been separated from her spirituality, needed to come together.
So, Tori, when did the singing and the songwriting start? At a pretty early age, wasn't it?
My mom says 2.5.
2.5?
That's what she says. I think that's the first thing I remember is this big black upright piano was my best friend.
But you landed your first gig at 12, didn't you? So that must have been something.
Yeah, I think my dad, you know, he got me for a deal. I would do the funeral in the morning and the wedding in the afternoon, so he'd do a bit of a 2-for-1 special with me.
And you talk about pianos there. You've got a favourite piano now, haven't you?
I have. One of my best friends in the world is my piano, and she's been all over the world. And she has blankets that wrap her up. They take her legs off, and they put her in the big box every night, and they take her out every day. Usually we do 6 shows a week when we tour. We just did 10 months of touring.
Well, I was just talking to you about that a short time ago, wasn't I, before we were waiting to speak properly now. 10 months on tour in the US, this tour, wasn't it? That must have been absolutely exhausting, 6 shows a week.
It was, but we had our Natasha there, our little girl.
You've got a great name for your daughter, I can tell you that.
One of the best.
Yeah, and she would be backstage with us before the show, before she went to bed, and she'd do Ring a Ring a Rosies every night with us. Before we went on, then she'd look at me and say, "Now, Mommy, go rock."
Oh, because she comes with you, doesn't she, with
Everywhere,
most of the tour?
yeah.
Now, tell me about where you live now. You moved to Cornwall. You really settled there.
Yes, my husband is British, persnickety but British, and so he wanted to live. It was either South London or Cornwall, so I said definitely Cornwall.
Well, I don't know. South London's got its spiritual
Dermot,
side.
I know Dermot, but it's just not my thing. Yeah. And so we made a compromise, and I love the Cornish there. I'm an outsider, and I understand that. I understand that I'm not of their tribe, but they've let me in, and they treat me with love, and it's a magical place. It really is.
No, it's beautiful as well, isn't it? A lovely place for Tash to grow up, certainly.
And we have our home studio there. So the musicians fly in from America, and it's very difficult for the record company to just, breeze through.
That's great. Now tell us, there's a rumour that you're in a new Julia Roberts film, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I was kind of summoned to come and play, it's a small part, it's a cameo role of a big band singer. So I do songs that were written in the 40s, early 50s, and I worked with Trevor Horn, which was just heaven. So it was different for me, but I enjoyed that style of music.
Is it your first movie?
Yeah, that did anything, yeah.
I see, there's one or two might be re-released after the success of this one.
You also dedicate a lot of your time, don't you, to your charity. It's called RAIN, is it?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
It's the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. It's independently funded, nothing from the government. And the idea is that you can call wherever you are in the States, and it's like a hotline that will connect you to the closest rape crisis center near you. So if you need to go in, and honestly, if you are having problems, say in Kansas, you need to know what the laws of that state are, and lawyers can help. Sometimes the kids are underage and the perpetrator's in the family. And we've had over 1 million calls, so that's the sad news, but the good news is that the service is there.
Yeah, exactly. And Tori, before we leave you, what's next for you now?
Well, I feel like this best of was kind of a, even if Tash plays it for her grandchildren, and that's the only person that listens to it, I felt like I compiled a sonic autobiography of this woman called Tori that grew up at a time when I think there were a lot of hopes and dreams for a place called America. And now that it's at its crossroads, I sort of wanted to chronicle that for her and her grandchildren. And the next, I don't know.
That's
your way
enough.
of telling your story to her, as your grandfather had done to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tori Amos, what a pleasure to meet you. You're zipping down to Cornwall now, aren't you?
Very soon. Nice to see her.
Oh.
Nice to see you, and send our love to Tash.
Yeah. Great name. Thank you.